Okay, welcome back, and in this video we're going to practice the gluing technique needed to glue the elevons on. I took two pieces of scrap, about the same length, doesn't really matter, but I'm going to practice gluing these together. And what you'll find is, like this painter's tape, most tapes don't stick to this stuff, so you can't sort of tape them together. So what you do is you're going to use a razor blade, and this thing is about as old as I am. Got it from my dad. It's called a Red Devil. It's a razor blade holder. Okay, now you can hold the razor blade. It's a single edge razor blade. You can hold it in your hand if you want. That's like the show on the picture. But I'm going to use something a little safer than that, because it gives me a handle to go by and to drag the glue down. So I'm going to take these two pieces, get them lined up at the beginning here. Now the end is not important, because as you work, we're going to work a 2-inch piece at a time, and as we do that, we're going to work very slowly, and as we do that, we'll make sure that these two things are butted together all the way down to this end. So I do recommend that you start on the outside edge and work your way toward the center. And so we'll see how this works. So I'm going to hold it together. I got my knife ready. I'm going to put just a little 1/8-inch bead, and then after I put the 1/8-inch bead down, I'm going to take my razor blade and spread it to about 1/4 inch width of glue. And then we'll see how well it flexes. Okay, so I'm going to start on the end, run a bead of glue. Doesn't have to be precise, but you want to work fairly quickly so that you can spread that glue out and even. Okay, and then if you have to, you can wipe that glue off the razor blade carefully. Okay, so the razor blade is nice and clean. Now that glue hardens fairly, or I won't say hardens, it cools fairly quickly. It'll probably take another 5 minutes for it to harden well. But it's going to stay there, and I'm going to repeat the process again. Okay. Making sure your glue is in the center, and then spread it evenly. I'm not pressing down too heavy either. I'm just trying to spread that glue out. That glue's actually still pretty hot. That's some hot glue. Alright, that's okay. If your razor blade gets too gummy, just change it out. I can actually use that other knife I've got and clean that off probably a little better. See if this works. No, you just have to sort of rub that glue. Don't rub it the wrong way. You're going to get a real slice on your hand. Alright, this might be too thick. I think this razor blade will actually work better. So now I'm going to keep on working. As you can see, you can stop in between and you're trying to get an even layer of glue without getting too much glue on your fingers. It's too hot. I probably could have spread that one a little bit further. You're going to get these little spider webs all the way along too. By the way, this is low temperature hot melt glue, not high temperature. It's called low temperature hot melt glue. Get it in any craft store. Okay. Now, I'm not pressing so hard that I'm just taking all the glue off, but I want to make sure that there's an even coat, because it's the glue that sticks to the EPP foam and hot melt glue sticks to the EPP foam and creates the hinge for these things to flex. And after we're done, we're going to do a very good inspection to make sure that there's no gaps, that it, you're going to look at it very carefully to make sure that there are no gaps in the gluing. Now, as I'm working my way along here, I'm making sure with my left hand here that these two pieces are staying butted up to one another. Then I run my bead of glue and then spread it out. Okay. And I think that's probably enough practice. We don't have to go all the way to the end. I'm going to let that harden a minute. By the way, my stick of glue has run out here, so I'm going to put another stick of glue in and let that stay nice and warm. By the way, if you hadn't seen this or not, this is a piece of silicone that came with my glue gun, because the hot melt glue won't stick to this silicone. You just rub any drips off and throw them away. Alright, so we're going to touch this. This side is nice and cool. This side's still a little tacky. That side's still a little warm. I'm going to wait a few minutes. I'll tell you what, I'll use the big knife here and sort of cool it off a little. Okay. And then we're going to see if it flexes or not. Okay. Now, I wouldn't do this with the elevon yet. I would let it get reasonably hard, but you're going to see that that's going to flex. Now, because it's 90 degrees, I can't flex it in both directions, but you can see that's going to flex quite nicely. I've had my HyperFly made by the same company in the same process for almost 10 years. Glue's still working fine after 10 years. So you can see that that's going to flex. Okay, you can see that it's flexing on that glue, and now I'm going to check here to make sure that there's no gaps. Okay, I see one little gap right there, and then let me see if I'll do that. I see one little gap that I missed. In other words, I spread it too thin right there. So I'm just going to come back over it, put a little dab down, take my knife, and spread some nice hot glue on that joint, on that part of the joint right there. So what you end up with, I hope you can see it in the light there, you can maybe see it shining, there you go. That little strip of hot melt glue is going to stick to itself and stick to the foam, and it's going to allow that hinge to work. So practice it, make sure you know what you're doing, because you don't want to screw this up. And in the next video you'll see me do it for real. Thank you.